before we get into anything, I want to do a 50-second monologue here. I know there's different tiers of fans. There's Twitter fans, Blazer fans. You got your casual fans. You got your people that maybe go one game a year, know the name of the team, maybe not even the name of the coach. I'm going to try to hit the reset button. Joe Cronin took over for Neil O'Shea. Neil O'Shea was fired. Joe Cronin was named interim general manager, and then he was named general manager without interviewing. The team did not interview any other candidates. They just handed him the job. They didn't interview. They didn't hire an outside firm to say, hey, what's your direction? What do you want to do? Hey, Joe, here's the keys. Take off. What do you want to do? So we've been told Joe wants to build a championship team around Dame Lillard. Now, we did our podcast as free agency started 15 minutes prior to that. We did the show. I was editing the show. Blazers' only move during that time period was to sign their own players, which doesn't make them better. I'm thinking probably what Dame's thinking, like, what's going on? I'm seeing trades. I'm seeing free agency signings, but I'm not seeing anything from the Portland Trail Blazers. And then we wake up to Dame Lillard has asked for a trade out of the Portland Trail Blazers, which is fine. I would do the same thing maybe a year or two later. So here, that's where we're at right now, Bo Deez-El. And were you shocked? What were you thinking?
No, I was just happy it was over. This writing's been on the wall for a long time. Neither side wanted to break up with each other. It was cute. It was loving, but it had to happen. And now we're at the breakup point. We knew he wasn't happy. You can blame whoever you want. Everyone wants the best for each other, and that's very cute. Looking out the door, thank you, Dame. Thank you so much. Everyone loves you. Did a great job. They'll love you wherever you go. But at a certain point, we've got to move on.
I agree. Dame, we love you too. Great show. Brought Portland to a level, and there's always this discussion, who's the greatest Blazer of all time, and, that's fun to debate. Right now, my question to you, were you surprised that the Blazers did absolutely nothing but take care of their own players and not go after any trades? I would have accepted a trade of Nasir Little for Cody Zeller. I would welcome Cody Zeller to come back.
Right. And when you look at who was signed and who was signed where, most of the names, most of the players went back to their original teams. So there wasn't that much drastic movement at all. So, no, I'm not really surprised. Now, Dame said he wanted to play with Draymond, and Draymond Green stayed with the Warriors, a perfect example. Now, he said, let's get him over to Portland. That was a chess move because there was no way that he was ever going to leave the team he's on, that he's won those championships with, to come to Portland. That's a pipe dream. That was never going to happen. So that seemed like a chess move. Okay, I'll ask for something I know I can't get. This will give me a reason to opt out. You don't need a reason. You don't need a reason to opt out. This was a classic case of, I love you, but I don't want to break up with you. This has been going on for years. So the Band-Aid had to come off, and it came off.
And we're not behind the scenes. We don't know what was said. So this is all speculation. The only thing I'm arguing is how Joe Cronin handles himself in press conferences. If it was me, I would say, hey, you know what? That's between me and Dame. I don't have anything to say about it. Dame's kind of mostly the same way. Is vocal about what he wants. Joe Cronin should have just said, no comment, no comment. You can always say, yeah, we want to build a championship. You're not going to say, unlike Neil O'Shea, who did say, oh, yeah, we just want to build mediocrity. We want to sign second round picks that didn't work out. That's not what Joe Cronin's saying. So now here we are. What do we do? What do you do? Is this your chess match that you were talking about, Dame versus Joe? Do we just say, hey, go to the Miami Heat, or what are we doing here?
Well, I heard there were some hard feelings a couple days ago, which is now a couple days after he requested for a trade. It's over. And the question now is the team going to appease their former player to sacrifice the future of the team? I.e., are you going to accept Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero for Dame?
No.
Absolutely not. So the question now is, where's he going to go? This is the roller coaster ride we're on. But I think as a fan and as a loyal fan to Dame, thank you. Love you. must move on now.
Yeah. And this is not a type of situation if people are going to talk about like Clyde Drexler and what we did for him for Houston. I want to compare this to the Utah Jazz last year. They got rid of everybody, and then they got off to a hot start, and everyone's like, whoa, what's going on here? You're supposed to be tanking. You're supposed to be losing. I think the set of Blazers that were drafted and Jeremy Grant and the guys that they have here right now, I think they are capable. I'm not saying they're going into the play-in but they're going to stay in games, and I think they're going to be competitive more than people think. You got to make a critical chess move of when you're not just going to trade Dame and say, oh yeah, we're going to get picks in 2030 and 2039. You got to do something where you get some quality player back, a big, hopefully package Nurk, and then look for the future and say, hey Dame, you want it out? You want to win a championship? Let's get you to a championship team.
So last week we were talking about specific players or the type of players that we wanted in exchange. And I think a fair deal at this point is a good player, a good role player, and a good draft pick. I think those three things are fair for Dame at this point.
I agree because you're not gonna, if his goal is to win a championship, you're not gonna package your whole team. And to me, honestly, you think about Philadelphia, you already kind of have a big three there with Tyrese Maxey and Harden and Embiid. Harden wants out. My feeling is this is going to be a big giant 4 or 5 team trade, and everyone's going to get what they want, and there's going to be picks, and it's going to be the blockbuster of blockbuster trades. My fingers crossed. I just hope it's not a Bradley Beal, Paul Gasol. We're like, what the heck? What do we get here?
Yeah, at this point is so few teams that they've talked about. The surprise team now is the Spurs. And there was a chance just a month ago, and I believe I saw a picture or two of Dame with Wembanyama, but those were in Blazer jerseys. Now there's a chance he could go to the Spurs, which would be great. I think that would be outstanding. But again, who are you going to get back from that team besides some picks, which they do have, to appease the fan base? Probably no one.
Yeah, in this case, you have to do what's best for the team and for the future of the franchise and for the players you just drafted. You got to make sure they're supported. And I think a lot of people are misunderstanding Dame's time was kind of wasted during Neil O'Shea's time, not Joe Cronin's time. So everyone get off Joe Cronin's back. He's trying to do the best he can, and he has to support and make the best deal the team that's right around him.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're going to talk, if there's negative talk about what an individual is doing with his particular job, in this case, the general manager, Joe Cronin, well, it's also fair to look at the positive things that he's done. Now, yes, Scoot did fall to us at 3, but Shaden was a pick last year we weren't too sure about. But at this point, we know, yeah, well, in the last 2 years, those are the 2 guys that you got with your first pick. Not too bad.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch this squad. Whether they win 25 games, it's going to be fun to watch. That starts in Summer League here pretty soon.
No, I was just going to jump into Summer League, and you gotta ask yourself, Mike, you got to ask yourself at this point, well, we still got Scoot, a super, perhaps generational talent that is at the tail end of all this news. I do believe that all this news about Dame, probably a little bit of, oh, why wouldn't he want to play with me? Yes, he's young, and Dame knows that, or everyone knows Dame doesn't want to play with a young player, but still, you got to believe there's a little bit of a chip, or shall I say a little bigger bit of a chip on Scoot's shoulder coming into the Summer League and into the season with all this attention, all this news being put on Dame's departure.
No, I agree. And I think this opens up along those lines of Anthony Simons being the guy. I think he was in Dame's shadow. I think he can step out, and I think he can take a deep breath and not worry about look over his shoulder. Is Dame going to correct me? Am I going to be sitting? My only question out of all this, I think I did the brief history of Joe Cronin. Joe Cronin did not hire Chauncey Billups. Neil O'Shea hired Chauncey Billups. So I'm not sure if Chauncey Billups is the man for this, but we'll see this season. Go right now and predict Chauncey gets let go by mid-season. That's my prediction.
A safe prediction, considering you've got championship level coaches being fired for losing a year after they win a title. So yeah, I would have to agree with you.
And I'm not knocking on Chauncey. Chauncey just, he was with the Clippers for a year. And prior to that, he was with ESPN. He just doesn't have the coaching experience. He does have Scotty Brooks next to him. And then Scotty, I think maybe retained again. I know he did some head coaching jobs, but those are all taken. So Scotty Brooks will probably be back. Now, having said that, some of the game management that I saw last year was questionable. And now you're just going to be going with young guys. And you got to come up with some kind of, you got to learn new personnel. Chauncey was a point guard, great player. I don't know if that's translating to coaching. We'll see. I have nothing personal against the guy. I just think he doesn't have the experience necessary right now.
Yeah, and things are always changing. I mean, there's always new coaches and players that are now coaches that you remember playing. They're becoming coaches. So the cycle's never going to stop. And if you're not doing the job, especially with a large amount of talent, it's predictable that you're going to have to go soon.
Yeah, Dame was in the Western Conference Finals once in his tenure with the Blazers. And then this summer, he had to sit home and watch two play-in teams, the Lakers and the Miami Heat, one going to the conference finals, one going to the NBA finals, and sit at home and watch those guys when he was told to shut it down and not play in the rest of the season. Yes, it did work out. We got the number 3 pick with Brandon Roy's love, but can you blame him wanting to get back?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to sting. He was in the Western Conference Finals a few years ago, and that's as far as this team's been in quite some time. So I don't blame him for wanting to get back and hitch his wagon to a club that has the chance to do that.
Let's move right into this. We got Scoot. He's the face. He's the guy. What do we feel about him? What are we talking about, Scoot Henderson?
Well, I got to say that it's not nothing that he's currently wearing 0-0. I don't know what that is, but it's not nothing. Love it. Excited, ready to move on. Honestly, I haven't seen Scoot play that many games. In fact, I can probably say I haven't seen Scoot play more than a full game, at least not at one time. Now, footage-wise, have I seen 48 minutes? Oh, well, yeah, but it's a lot of repeats and shots and highlights and whatnot. So to actually get a chance to watch him play is very exciting.
No, I'm looking forward to Summer League. I did watch him on the G League Ignite. I watched the Wimbayana matchups. I was taken aback about how he looked because you're used to, you saw Ant come into the league at 19. He looked like a kid. He looked like a little kid. Skinny arms. Looked like, Reggie Miller, skinny arms. All these guys, skinny. Scoot's coming in as a full-grown muscles. He doesn't need to work on his body. He has time just to work on his game. That's the first thing that stepped out. The second was he wasn't shy. He was not shy. He played well on defense. He passed the ball. He shot the ball well. He wants to take that team on his shoulder. And what I heard in the Summer League media where he said, I'm not going to shy away with it. I want to make sure my mental health is great and I'm in the right place and I can put that team on my back. And that's exactly what I wanted to hear from Scoot Henderson.
Yeah, from all signs and just looking at him, hearing him talk, it's definitely a killer mentality that Scoot seems to have, a Russell Westbrook type killer mentality that you could just see in his eyes. This is a guy you want on your club.
That energy could translate to the rest of the team. And I think one of your picks was our second round pick. You're saying might have even a better career than both of the first round picks. I feel like those guys might even mesh a little bit and be the 1-2 with Ant being the third guy. What do you think about that?
First, I may have overshot with that prediction, but I do think Kriyan Rupert is going to be outstanding. I'm very much looking forward to seeing him. Now, it's not sure. We don't know what the lineups are going to be. So, we can only look forward to seeing the rotations. Last year, we were talking about Chauncey and the coaching. I thought his rotations were great. I like the combinations of players that he played together. So now you have new pieces. You have new pieces to put together, and it'll be fun to watch what he does. But I definitely think Rupert is going to be a big, fun piece to watch. I'm imagining right now Rupert and Matisse Thybulle getting on a unit together, and that is going to be some defense that I don't think we've seen in quite a while.
Defensive stopper. And you're going to hear it here on the 77 podcast. I believe in some way, in some fashion, Mr. Nicholas Batum will end up on the Blazers as part of this Dame trade as a mentor coming back maybe to shut down his career where it started in Portland, Oregon. Let's talk about the Summer League team in Las Vegas. What are we expecting?
Yeah, great. Summer League. What a fun time of the year. Love it. Anytime there's an opportunity to do something in Vegas besides being in Vegas is a great thing.
So we got a full roster. Shaden Sharp's playing. Scoot Henderson's there. Ryan Rupert.
He's comfortable with people calling him Ryan. He understands. He's so mature that he doesn't mind if people call him Ryan. That's fine.
I expect back-to-back championships from the Portland Trailblazers.
Well, that would be fun. And what better bonding experience can you have than to win a Summer League title? However, I think that the focus here will definitely be the excitement of the new players that we have alongside of Shaden.
And I want to touch just a brief second on. I was a little puzzled with the Watford release. Watford's a guy that is not a defensive liability. He's not an offensive liability. So I'm not sure why they let Watford go. He would have been great in this summer league, but do you have any reasoning why you would let Watford just walk?
Yeah, I really was a big fan of it. Still am. I think he's a hard-nosed, tough player that can help a team, but you can't keep everyone. And they got rid of Drew, and they got rid of Trendon. You can't keep everyone, so there's only so many spots on a team. Yes, I'm disappointed that he's not around. Do I think it's the worst thing in the world? No, it's not the worst thing in the world. So, Mike, let's this is a topic that we've been seeing lately about top 10, top 5, top 1, top 2. What are your top 5 Blazers of all time?
I love the lists. Twitter's going crazy. My list is pretty simple. It's based on winning in championships. So I'm going to go. Clyde Drexler got us to 2 NBA finals and a league best record one year. So Clyde's my number 1 Blazer. Then I'm going to go with Bill Walton. He brought the championship to the city. He brought Blazer Mania to the city. You gotta love him. Then I'm going to say Dame Lillard. Great for Portland. Great career. Loves Portland and all-star appearances. We just left him a little short, and we wish him well on his new endeavors. And then I'm going to go number 4, Brandon Roy, with the what ifs. He could have been great. He was great. He was a clutch shooter. Made shots under pressure. Kobe Bryant said he was the toughest guy that he ever had to guard in the NBA. That's big praise from the Mamba. And then I'll go in at number 5. Drafted in the 80s, but didn't show up until the 90s. Arvydas Sabonis.
Yeah.
Sabonis.
Great list. Love it. You stole one of my picks, maybe 2 of my picks, but my top 5 are not based on championships. I do not go that route. And my number 1's going to be a little surprising. I love me some Sheed. Sheed Wallace is my number 1 all-time Blazer. Skill-wise, well, if you love Sheed, you love Sheed, and he's my number 1. That's how much I love Sheed. Number 2, I go with Dame. He's on the way out. He's out the door. He was never going to beat Sheed for me anyway. Dame's number 2 for me. 3, I would have to go with Clyde the Glide. That's kind of a no-brainer. He should be up there. Anything out of 3, I think, is just darn disrespectful. Number 4, DeMontis's daddy. Definitely could have easily landed in the top 3 spots, but we got him when he was old, as you mentioned, so he slipped down to 4. And number 5 is a little sentimental pick, a guy I used to watch coming up when I first fell in love with the game. I used to see him often. Jerome Kersey, giant brick poster of him, brick painting of him outside of a bridge in Portland when I was a youth, staring up at that, had a big impact on my life. So Jerome Kersey wraps up my top 5.
Mercy Kersey, I like your top 5. And in general, we've grown up Blazer fans my whole entire life. You got Larry Steele and all those guys, but it's great to talk about these lists now that Dame has departed, and we hope Scoot Henderson will be atop of that list, bringing some championships here in 3 or 4 years.
So, Mike, the Summer League, for people who want to know, we start on July 7th. This is the Vegas Summer League, and July 7th, I believe, let's just double check this, is Friday. We got a game Friday night, then a game Sunday night against Wemby. So the first game is Houston team. Then we got Wemby in the second game against Scoot. That's going to be nationally covered.
I think the talk of the Summer League, after we watch it, thanks for the listing of the times, is going to be Jeremy Grant's contract. Give me your thoughts on that. Break that down about the money, the years, or whether or not we're going to hold on to Grant.
Well, I think good for Jeremy. He's always a player that I feel is deserving of that money. We don't usually see these players play out their contract. It's almost comical. A contract, when you think of what it is to what has happened with them, players can get out whenever they want and moved quite regularly. So to think a player is going to stay out his contract, I would just bet against.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp. I think he's only going to get this money with Portland. He got it, and he's happy whether Dame's there or not there. He's still young, and I think this contract is average for his skill set in this day and age. So I think in 2 years, moving $35 million a year is not going to be too hard if things don't work out in 2 years and he wants to move on and the Blazers want to move on. So I think it's a friendly contract when Dame is gone. If Dame was still here, then that might have jacked everything up, and then you're going into the second and third apron. But with Dame gone, this contract is a different aspect that you got to look at it in a different way.
Well, what do you think of, because at this point we're sitting where Dame is not been moved. We haven't heard anything but speculation. What say you the chances are a backpedal occurs and whoops, season has started, aka Daryl Morey move, where he has no rush at all to move a player? What say Dame's still here in October?
I wouldn't be surprised if that was going to happen. I would say we got a great general manager with a big set of balls, because you got to wait till the trade deadline. Then people are going to panic. Be like, okay, all right. I'll give you those 5 first-round draft picks and my best player. Here you go.
Mike, what do you think of Ben Simmons in a Blazer uniform? A couple of those picks, perhaps, from Brooklyn.
Now, my perspective, Ben Simmons, if he was included in a Brooklyn deal or even a 3-way deal where Ben Simmons ends up as a Blazer, I'm okay with that. He has 2 years left. You can see what you can get out of him. He's not some guy you can throw him in. He's tall. He can play with everybody. Start him at power forward, small forward, take him off the bench, do what you need to do with that, and see what you get out of him for 2 years. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I've thought about it the last couple of days, and I've gone back and forth with it. I'm leaning towards okay, that's almost acceptable. Now, of course, that's under the condition there are picks. Joe Cronin has proven himself to pick well, as we touched on earlier. So I don't think getting picks back is a bad deal, especially picks within the next couple of years. I think that's going to be fair.
So you take 5 picks and Ben Simmons and be okay with that?
I would take Ben Simmons, another role player, and 2 picks.
Spencer Dinwiddie?
I don't think Dinwiddie fits. And the reason why I think that Ben Simmons fits is we've already seen that Ben Simmons is a little bit immature. Not to talk negatively about him, but just the actions and what we've seen or what we haven't seen from Ben Simmons definitely can lean towards him being a little immature. Well, if you group an immature player who's a little bit older with some players who are younger, are a little more mature than what we've seen, seems like an interesting thing to witness.
Yeah, I know most fans are probably going to hear Ben Simmons and be like, oh man, we failed. I'm okay with it because you can dump his contract in 2 years and then you're off the books and you can sign somebody or have room to make a trade. So I'm okay with that. While we're going down this rabbit holes of what ifs before we wrap up the show, why do we need Tyrese Maxey? We already have a bunch of young guards that we just drafted.
I think that's more of a sign of how much Tyrese Maxey's stock has risen in the last season. I mean, yeah, he's a very nice player. Love him. Absolutely. Would I want him? Absolutely. But it doesn't seem like Philly's ever going to give him up anyway. So I think it doesn't even worth consideration.
All right, Bo Deez-El, that does it for the show. And wherever you may be, wherever you get your podcast, please sign up and subscribe, and we will get the latest episodes, and we'll see you next for a summer league.